be scared and nervous, and you're not going to know what to do. No matter what situation you're in, you're going to be scared. And whether it's planned or not, you're going to be scared. And it doesn't help when you see people standing outside an abortion clinic saying, like, you're murdering your kid, like, screaming at him. See, we should be fighting for our beliefs by loving them. We should be seeing people who say that. If I was scared, I would want somebody who doesn't look like threatening. I was reading one article that stated that pro-life advocates, some of them are treated as terrorists. They say that they're terrorists because they're threatening. They do. And that's what we need to stop. See, unfortunately, there are places like Planned Parenthood that say, come on in, we'll take you in, we'll get rid of it. It'll be okay, we've got you. Because you have a right to. I think they make that decision because we have been brainwashed into believing that we're empowering women and that destroying their baby is the right thing to do. Well, if a tree falls in a forest and no one's around, did it really happen? If you can't hear his scream, is it really wrong? Yes. See, this is a fetus at 12 weeks. But there's already so much that's going on inside of it. I'm going to read this, it's really small. So. Conception, week 1. The baby is smaller than a grain of sand, grain of sugar. But the instructions are present for all that this person will ever become. The baby attaches and burrows securely into the wall of its mother's womb. That's week 2. Week 3, the baby's blood vessels and sex cells form. Foundations of the brain, spinal cord, and nervous system are laid. Week 4, the baby's heart has begun to beat. Eyes, ears, lungs begin to form. Week 5, tiny arms and legs appear, as well as the baby's face. The baby's blood is now separate from its mother's. Week 6, tiny fingers and toes develop. The baby's brain is divided into 3 parts for emotion, language, hearing, and seeing. Week 7, buds of the baby's teeth appear. 99% of the muscles are present, and brain activity is detectable. Week 8, the baby begins spontaneous movement and is now well proportioned, about the size of a thumb. Every organ is present but immature. The skull, elbows, and knees are forming. Week 9, if prodded, hands and eyelids close and genitalia becomes visible, indicating whether the baby is a boy or a girl. Muscular movement begins. Week 10, the baby's fingerprints begin to form. Nerve and muscle connections have tripled. Eyelids fuse together temporarily to protect the baby's delicate eyes. Week 11, the baby practices breathing and facial expressions, even smiling. The baby can also urinate and stomach muscles can contract. Week 12, the baby is now 3 inches in length and weighs 2 ounces with fine hair on the face. The baby is also able to swallow and feels and responds to stimulation. Well, pain sensation takes place at about 12 to 13 weeks. But abortion clinics say that doesn't happen until you are 6 months pregnant, 24 weeks. That big. See, Abby Johnson works for Planned Parenthood, and she's one of the biggest pro-life advocates. I love her. She stated, somehow in our society, we have equated humanity to pain instead of realizing that humanity is there at the moment of conception. I love her. Did you know that my little brother and I are walking miracles? My mom was told at an early age that she couldn't have kids. Her fallopian tubes were damaged because of endometriosis and cysts. Well, she kept being told she could never have kids. And one day she found out she was pregnant with me. And the same doctor that told her she couldn't have kids told her she was pregnant with me. She didn't believe it. Being told all your life you can't have kids. She gave up. A couple weeks later, Nickelodeon called her and said that they wanted her to be on a TV show. See, her path was chosen. She was going to go for it, but she chose me. She didn't have to. See, then Matthew, she found out she was pregnant with Matthew about 15 months later. Even though they said she couldn't have a second kid because of her difficulty in the first one. I'm sorry. I hope you're not mad at me. But see, she wasn't prepared for any of that. She had already had her life planned out. She knew where she was going to go. And she chose me. I think that's the best gift you ever gave me. But you can read every book there is out there, and it's still not going to prepare you for what's going to happen in your life. If you're waiting to get pregnant because you're waiting to become prepared for it, well, you're going to be waiting for the rest of your life. And that doesn't mean just go get pregnant just because, why not, but, you know. See, the majority of the pregnancies nowadays, they're unplanned. And another place that we go wrong, pro-life advocates, church people, where we go wrong, is when we say that there are exceptions for abortion. See, the Elliott Institute, they surveyed about 192 women, and about 70% of them said, or they gave birth to the baby, or they made an adoption plan, and they were either were raped or they were with incest. So they either carried the baby or gave it away. 43% of the ones that did abort, they stated that they felt pressure to abort from family members and healthcare workers. See, one of the victims that was a victim of incest, rape, she said, "Why do even pro-lifers talk about exceptions for rape, as if that is a way to have compassion for the mother? If you really want to have compassion, give the mother the opportunity to choose life." See, I think people are born every day unexpected and unwanted. But that doesn't mean that they shouldn't live. They deserve the right to live. Abby Johnson stated, "I used to be a compromiser until I met people who were actually conceived of rape. And there was no way I could look at them and say, your life doesn't matter." See, we should care. So this morning in church, John talked about we're called to be servants, but more importantly, we're called to be children of God. See, my card said, we're called to be servants, that's why we should care. Well, that's true and all, but this is one of the way God has spoken to me about this project. We're called to be children of God, and we should care because those babies, they are unable to speak, but they are our brothers and sisters. It doesn't matter how old they are.
Amen.
So that's what I need to change about. We're supposed to bear witness against injustice and inhumanity and stand up against it. We need to be bold, but bold is neither aggressive or obnoxious. We are supposed to simply, quietly, and effectively work to glorify God. And once we're bold, you start placing the welfare of others before your own. So then the unwanted and unloved become loved and wanted by us. That's how we should be fighting for our beliefs. But that also includes the women who are getting abortions multiple times. They make up about 45% of all abortions are multiple ones. See, they're the ones that go to Planned Parenthood who have multiple abortions, but none of the most common immediate medical complications, nobody wants to tell you about. See, they say that it's a safe procedure. You'll be okay. Well, none of the most immediate complications are infection, embolism, excessive bleeding, perforation of the uterus, convulsions, hemorrhaging, cervical injury, endotoxic shock, and is also significantly related to ectopic pregnancies and miscarriages. And I know somebody who had that happen to them. See, there is a lie that it is a safe procedure. It's just one of the many. But how can we help them? See, we need to deliver to them a place to go where they can be with people who actually care about them, who will give them information. And that's Care Pregnancy Center. See, I hear about all the ways we can fight for giving women's rights, but I think one of the best places I've heard who actually cares about pro-life is Care Pregnancy Center. See, 1 Corinthians 10:13, no temptation has overtaken you except such as is common to mankind. But God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able. But with temptation will also make the way of escape, so that you may be able to bear it. See, many times people don't want their children is because they say, oh, I don't have the money, or I just don't want it. I'm not ready, I don't love it. It's not the right time in my life. But also, like in cases of rape, you don't need to blame the wrong person. See, I think our culture is really backwards. See, they always try to find a way to blame the victim. The victim can be the mother, the victim can be the baby, or both. But don't blame the wrong person. Just because you don't have enough money or time or love, it doesn't mean that you should end its life because you think it's the best thing that can happen for it. They deserve the right to the life that God promised to them. It just may not be the picture you envisioned. See, adopting can be the way of escape. Some people think, well, that means I don't love my child. I don't want them to grow up one day and say, my mother didn't love me enough. No. It means you love them enough to give them a life that they deserve. A life with somebody else who can take care of them. Somebody who may not be able to have kids. You're giving them a miracle. So there are about 2 million people waiting just in America to receive their own miracle, and they're waiting regardless of medical complications. And also, a lot of the families adopting can pay for maternity costs. They can pay for your counseling, but you just have to find the right couple. You can handpick your baby's family too. It doesn't have to be just through the adoption agency. You can pick your own family, someone you know you trust. You may think that you'll regret it one day. Well, I missed my baby, I want it back. You'll have even more regret if you let it go and not even give it a chance. For sure. So, another thing I want to talk about are the fathers. See, I didn't really consider them even in my project of this. But my dad said, I know people who the fathers are never taken into consideration and they're heartbroken. They're not taken into consideration because everybody says the women has the right to do with it what they want. Okay. I fully believe in choice. Everyone should have the right to do what they want with their body. But the problem is women aren't aborting themselves, they're aborting someone else. Amen. See, men are required by law to support their children, but they are denied a right to say how they feel in an abortion. See, men should have every right to speak out for their children and support their children no matter what stage of life they're in. And they have a right to speak out against abortion because it isn't an issue of gender, it's an issue of life, and everyone has the right to defend it, no matter who you are. But the people at Care Pregnancy Center are fighting every single day the right way for abortion. See, they care for these women, and they give sonograms for people who are abortion-minded to show them what's really inside of them is life. It is a product of yourself, no matter how the situation came to be. It's meant to be there for a reason. And they provide counseling for the women, post-abortion classes. They care. It's in their name. Care Pregnancy Center, they care. They care because God cares. And we should too. Play the video. So, I'll just sit right here. Well, the video is a testimony from one of the women who came to Care Pregnancy Center. And so you can listen to me all night, but what really matters is when you get information from somebody who's been there. They can play it.
It's trying. There you go.
I am one of the mothers who came to the Augusta Care.
Sorry, hot-sliding the phone is apparently the fastest way to do it.
A pregnancy center and thought that I was across the street in Planned Parenthood. The day that I walked into the Augusta Care Pregnancy Center changed my life forever. I was witnessed to by some of the counselors there about God's greatness and all the things that were going on. I believe in my heart, and I know today that I was led there by God to this ministry where they are working hard and doing God's work to save babies, to save lives. The Augusta Care Pregnancy Center teaches young girls and women about abortions and about the reason why they shouldn't do it, because God said that we're all wonderfully made in His image. The Augusta Care Pregnancy Center loves everyone. It is working hard to build back family, to teach people about God's word and love for His children. I testify today to anyone that's going through something to know that it does not matter what you think, that God can turn your situation around. Your baby is never a mistake. You are wonderfully made, and your baby is wonderfully made. My daughter is 5 years old. She started school this Wednesday, and it was because of them and their ministry to save these babies and why my child is alive today. I'm very grateful and thankful to the Lord for this ministry at the Augusta Care Pregnancy Center.
So, if you want to work in the littlest way to keep the children alive, then just donate your time, tell somebody about it, tell them where to go when they need help. I know the address. There's a website. It's pretty awesome. You should go check it out. So every Sunday, there will be a basket in the lobby to put your donations in. You can donate anything like diapers or formula, strollers, car seats. I've seen it all when I went over there. People care that much. It's really awesome. But Matthew 7:8-11 says, "Yes, everyone who asks will receive, everyone who searches will find, and everyone who knocks will have the door opened. If your children ask for bread, which of you would give them a stone? Or if your children ask for a fish, who would give them a snake? Even though you are bad, you know how to give good gifts to your children. How much more your heavenly Father would give to those who ask of Him." I think that the story of Joseph in the First Testament was the first realization that I should do this project. And if you don't know the story, I'm going to show you. Joseph was the son of Jacob. He was tricked by his brothers into slavery, and he was sold to one of the Pharaoh's officials. So he then starts to live in the house with the Pharaoh, and one day the wife tries to tempt him, and he was thrown in jail. Well, God was with him in jail, and He gave him favor with the warden. He then began to interpret the dreams of the cupbearer and the chief baker. Well, the Pharaoh throws a feast for his birthday a few days later, and the interpretations come true. So then he begins to interpret the dreams of the Pharaoh. He gained favor with him, and on his deathbed, the Pharaoh gave him his signet ring that made him ruler of the land. His brothers came back to him, but they did not know who he was. But he knew who his brothers were. And he was tricking them. He didn't know how to forgive them, but eventually he did, and he got his family back. He was prosperous in his land when the 7 years of famine began. His land was all right because he had God. And he got his whole family back. Even the ones that betrayed him gave him away. See, God has a plan for everything. Stuff that happens tomorrow, stuff that Satan will use against you, he will take it and he will glorify it, and you will be redeemed. Doesn't matter what situation you come from. You can put your faith in him. Because once you get to the top of that mountain, you'll look back and you'll be amazed at all the stuff that he's done for you. I would never have imagined that I would be here talking to all of you about something that is so important at the beginning of this project. But I'm so thankful that I have. I'm so thankful for every one of you. All my friends and family. And Amanda and her husband and Brad and Miss Susan and Debbie and everybody. I love all of you. And I pray that someone would hear this message and go share the truth and share the love. And stop believing the lies that are told. See, they're God's children and they're your brothers and sisters, and we should care for them. And we have like the simplest ways to do it. So spread the word. There will be a basket every day, every Sunday in the church for you to put your donations in. So thank y'all so much for allowing me to talk to you. I know you could have been anywhere. Thank you.